Okay, welcome to the section 3 of our project stakeholder management knowledge area. In this section, we'll be discussing manage stakeholder engagement, and this is the third process in our project stakeholder management knowledge area. All right. So let's get into the details of how to manage our stakeholders and ensure that they are in support throughout the life cycle of our project. Let's go now. First is an overview of the managed stakeholder engagement process. Managing stakeholder engagement involves executing the strategies outlined in the stakeholder engagement plan to maintain positive relationships, address stakeholder concerns, and ensure their continued support and involvement throughout the project life cycle. Alright, so this has to do with implementing what you already have in your stakeholder engagement plan. Alright. This process focuses on effectively communicating with stakeholders, addressing their needs and expectations, and fostering collaboration to achieve project success. This now is the execution phase of your stakeholder management. All right, this is the execution phase. This is the point you now start implementing. Right, all this while we've been identifying and planning. So this is the time when the rubber hits the road. Okay, so it has to do with effectively communicating with those stakeholders to address their needs and expectations. Okay, and then get them to collaborate. All right, and to stay focused on the project, whatever their roles or responsibilities should be, okay, to ensure that they are doing it, they are playing their roles, playing their own part in ensuring the project success. So by the end of this section, you should be able to understand the purpose and importance of the managed stakeholder engagement process. You should be able to identify the inputs, the tools, and the techniques, as well as the output of this process. And lastly, you will learn how to effectively communicate with stakeholders to foster collaboration in order to achieve your project success. Okay, so let's move on now. Now, what are the objectives of the managed stakeholder engagement process? Firstly, the objective is to maintain communication. Remember that a major part of your stakeholder management is about communication. All right, so you have to you want to maintain that communication from the start to the finish. So maintaining communication has to do with continually communicating with stakeholders to keep them informed about the project progress, changes, as well as upcoming activities. All right, so they have to be in the loop. You have to keep them in touch, especially when it comes to do with upcoming activities. For example, they finish a particular activity which is their role to play in the project. All right, so it's important you inform them when the next activity is going to be and what their role should be in that next activity. Do you understand now? So maintaining that communication is important, and then also informing them of the progress. How is the project making progress? All right, because they want to know. Okay, and I think also feedbacks about their own activity will also be necessary here, right? Because when they know that they are doing well, or when they know the things that they are not doing well, they can be able to make necessary adjustments, all right, and then improve as the project progresses. And this is what we call iteration. All right, so this is a very key objective as well as stakeholder management is concerned. Next is address concerns. So this is a very critical objective in stakeholder management. Okay, very critical objective. This has to do with proactively identifying and addressing stakeholder concerns, issues and conflicts to prevent them from escalating and negatively impacting the project. So you want to identify those concerns. Maybe a stakeholder has complained, a customer has complained about the service delivery. All right, so you want to deal with that concern as quickly as possible. Or a customer complained about the workability of the product. All right, you want to address that immediately. Or a supplier complained about the availability of the person to receive the supplies, or the timeliness by which the documentation is done. Okay, so you want to address those concerns to prevent them from escalating. Do you understand that now? Or maybe the regulatory agency needs some documentation, and then someone in the project team is supposed to deliver that, and the person hasn't done that. So there's a concern about, you know, whether this thing is going to pull through. So you want to address those concerns. And then also you can have conflicting interests, you know, about particular thing. Maybe when it comes to industry standards, you know, you have a personnel from the regulatory agency trying to interpret the industry standard in a particular way, all right, that is different from the project team member, his own perspective. So you could have that conflicting interest. So those information, when it gets to you as a project manager, those are something you need to address as quickly as possible so that they don't stall your project. Okay, so next is seek feedback. So this has to do with soliciting feedback from stakeholders on project deliverables, processes and performance to improve project outcome and stakeholder satisfaction. So this is very key. So you want to seek feedback from suppliers, feedback from regulatory agencies, feedback from, you know, executives, even within the project organization, feedback from the project team, the subject matter experts, feedback from the middlemen, the vendors, and even the end users, the customers. All right, it's like in our program, we're always seeking feedback from our students, trying to get their testimonials. You know, how's the program, how's the learning platform, the user experience they're having with the learning platform, you know, the course materials and all that. So we always want to get feedback, and we don't take this feedback lightly. We want to use them as inputs in improving processes. All right, so seeking feedback is a very important aspect of managing stakeholder engagement. All right, build trust. So another objective is to build trust when managing stakeholder engagement, and this has to do with establishing and maintaining trust and credibility with stakeholders through transparent communication, honesty and integrity. Okay, so these are very important objectives you have to have in perspective when you're managing stakeholders. Maintain communication, address concerns, seek feedback and build trust. Okay, so let's move on. Now let's begin to look at the inputs in this process. The first is the stakeholder engagement plan. Now remember, this is an output from the previous process. So here is serving as an input, and it provides guidance on stakeholder communication, engagement strategies and expectations. All right, so you're going to have to work with the guidance that the stakeholder engagement plan provides for you, so as to know how to communicate effectively, and then to engage appropriately, and then what expectations are you looking at. Okay, so at this point in time, you're not working by rote, you're not working in a vacuum. Okay, you have something to guide you, all right, based on analysis and available data. Okay, communication methods. These are defined communication channels and methods identified in the stakeholder engagement plan. All right, so you have the communication methods that you're going to use, whether you're using social media platforms like WhatsApp, all right, like Facebook groups, all right, Instagram Live, okay, a whole lot of them. You're using a Slack, you're using Team, you're using Zoom, you're using Meet, all right. So you have to have the communication methods in place, all right, and it could not just be one communication method you're using. You could have several, all right. The next is stakeholder feedback. This also serves as input, so that's why you need to have a system for collecting feedback from your stakeholders. All right, we'll call it user generated content. Okay, so that serves as input for managing your stakeholder engagement. All right, and this input received from the stakeholders through various communication channels such as meetings, surveys, and interviews. The next is issue log. It's a record of stakeholder concerns, issues, and conflicts that need to be addressed. So you have an issue log. Okay, and like I said before, most of these templates are available in the template section, the PMP template section on our training platform, so you can download them and use them. It makes your work very, very easy as a project manager. Okay, so what are the tools and techniques that I use in the Manage Stakeholder Engagement? So first is communication skills. Now this is very, very important. As a project manager, you have to be a skilled communicator. You have to work on your communication skills, because like I said, almost everything about stakeholder engagement is in communication. All right, the success of your project as far as engaging your stakeholders is concerned lies on your ability to communicate effectively with them. All right, so effective communication techniques, which includes active listening, empathy, and negotiation skills to engage with stakeholders and address their concerns, are important at this particular time. All right, so you want to you don't want to be lazy in communication. All right, if I may put it that way. All right, and then interpersonal skills, building rapport, trust, and credibility with stakeholders to foster positive relationship and collaboration. So interpersonal skills are very, very important. As a project manager, you need to have good interpersonal skills. You need to be able to develop them. This will help you in building rapport, building trust and credibility with your stakeholders. Stakeholder meetings. Now, regular meetings with stakeholders to discuss their projects, to discuss project progress, updates, and any issues or concerns. So you want to have regular meetings with your stakeholders. It's part of the techniques that you use in communication. Now, these meetings could either be physical or virtual meetings. All right, so whichever way, depending on the proximity of the concerned individuals in the meetings, anyone could serve. All right, so next is feedback management. Now, it's one thing to get feedback from your stakeholders, it's another thing to properly manage the information that's contained in that feedback. All right, that's where this technique comes in, and it has to do with the systematic collection, analysis, and response to stakeholder feedback to improve project performance and stakeholder satisfaction. All right, so this is very, very important. In fact, I would say one of the most important aspects of managing stakeholder engagement, because the feedback gives you data, real-time relevant data to work with. All right, if you're going to know about the needs of the stakeholders, their interests, their concerns, and whatever issues they are having, of course it's going to be contained in the feedback. All right, and then how you go about managing that feedback will make all the difference in your project performance and the stakeholder satisfaction. Okay, so all these tools and techniques are very, very important for you as as the project manager. You have to have good communication skills, good interpersonal skills, all right, and then take those stakeholder meetings importantly. All right, take those stakeholder meetings seriously, and also be able to properly manage the feedbacks. Okay. All right, so what's the output? So first is the stakeholder updates. Now this is the first and foremost output you can get from the Manage Stakeholder Engagement. It has to do with communication of the project progress, the updates, and then of course relevant information to stakeholders through various channels such as meetings, reports, and emails. Okay, so that's the first output, the stakeholder updates. Now you have issue resolution. Now this has to do with resolution of stakeholder concerns, issues, and conflicts documented in the issue log. Now those issues and concerns from stakeholders based on their feedback that have been documented in the issue log, you now have a documented resolution of those issues. All right, so that's what this is all about. And then lastly, you have the stakeholder satisfaction. This is feedback received from stakeholders indicating their level of satisfaction with project processes, deliverables, and outcome. Okay, this is more like a testimonial from your customer, something like that. Okay, so you need to have this outputs in place, all right, for you to know that you have effectively been able to manage your stakeholder engagement. All right, and above all of them, I think this one is what gives you assurance that you're doing the right thing, the stakeholder satisfaction, where your stakeholders actually tell you yes, they are satisfied with the project's progress so far, especially with the deliverables and outcome. Okay, so you want to look out for this. All right, so what are the key takeaways we can get from this process? Firstly, the Manage Stakeholder Engagement is crucial for maintaining positive relationships, addressing concerns, and ensuring stakeholders remain supportive and involved throughout the project. Okay, effective communication, active listening, and empathy are essential skills for engaging with stakeholders, understanding their needs, and addressing their concerns. All right, so you must have this communication skills, active listening, very important. So all these are important aspects of communication with your stakeholders. And also, regular stakeholder meetings and feedback mechanisms help keep stakeholders informed, involved, and satisfied with project progress and outcomes. All right, so you want to have regular meetings with your stakeholders and always seek feedback from them during such meetings. Building and maintaining trust with stakeholders is essential for fostering collaboration, gaining their support, and achieving project success. Okay, so building and maintaining trust is very, very essential, okay, for fostering collaboration, all right, with your stakeholders. So that brings us to the end of this section. I'm sure that you now have all that you need to be able to effectively manage your stakeholder engagement. All right, so in the next section, we're going to look at how to monitor our stakeholder engagement. I'll see you there. Cheers.